Hello, Mira. I am so excited to have you today for this series of Ignite Your Soul Purpose.
Hello.
As so good to see you. As I've said to you before, I've been following you for years, and you've been part of my journey in terms of getting to my soul purpose. So thank you.
I'm so happy to hear that, and how amazing that we get to bring that topic to your audience today. So I'm
Exactly.
excited. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So just to give a quick intro of who you are, and then of course, if you can give a more broader approach of who you are to the audience. But you are a world-renowned expert on past life regressions. You're also the best-selling author of Beyond Past Lives. You've been featured in many places, including Wishes Fulfilled from Wayne Dyer, as well as your work has been mentioned also on Oprah. And I love the beautiful work that you're doing, helping so many people right now on their soul journey, and also clearing, right? Because right now, I think we're in a stage in our lives where a lot of us are doing the deep work of clearing, doing deep cleansing, so we can then leave space for a container to receive beauty and many blessings. So with that, if you'd like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and how did you get to start this work on past life regressions?
I have to tell you, just as you were introducing me, and as you said that my work has been featured in many places, I thought to myself, gosh, I have been so fortunate to reach so many people with what is on my heart, to share what is being channeled through me. And then I thought to myself, but of course, because it's aligned and it's a true expression of my purpose, right? So how perfect that we get to talk about purpose, because have I been going against the grain of my soul, I wouldn't be here with you today. I would not have been able to say, and look all the lives we have been able to impact and bring light into. And so this conversation about purpose is so important and so significant. And in a way, it's something that I had to walk for myself as well, because I used to work, oh gosh, it feels like a whole another lifetime ago. I used to be a corporate attorney, and then I realigned after having a personal experience that in which I was able to heal a physical condition through past life regression. And that allowed me to look into the world of past life regression as a viable way of actually waking up and pouring my energy and effort into and making a difference in the world. And so I believe that because of my own personal work through that journey, through that transformation, I have been able to attract a lot of people who have come my way and said, but what is my purpose, and how do I discover it, and how do I live it fully? Because, you know, this question of, I'm here for something important, I want to contribute, I want to use my gifts and talents, but I don't know what it is. Each one of us carries that question in our hearts, right? Each one of us wakes up in the morning and says, okay, but why am I here? What is my purpose? And that answer is different for each and every one of us, right? Because we're such unique expressions of the divine, but also at the same time, that question is also very similar in terms of the answer for all of us, because I believe that overall we are all here on this planet so that we can learn how to work with our thoughts and with our emotions and with our imagination, how to use the mental energy of the creative inner environment. So in a way, we are all divine expressions learning how to be the best we could possibly be as the creators of our lives, right? And yet for each one of us, that expression will be completely different, because each one of us has a different set of skills and interests and abilities. And so naturally that creates for extraordinary diversity and joy and experiences, right? And so I literally have every client who comes my way literally asks that question: what is my purpose? What is my purpose? What is my purpose? Yeah.
No, totally. And one thing that, I've learned myself is that when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? And we all have our teachers we connect with that are here to also guide us on the soul journey. And usually, those teachers are sent to us by our soul as well.
I was so delighted to hear that you have been working with my past life regressions.
Yes,
I would love to hear about that. Maybe that would be a good way for us to introduce your community to past life regression, but I would love to hear your experiences.
Totally. So from my end, it's been more regarding money and abundance, because I am abundant in a lot of ways, but and I manifest so many beautiful things in my life. My friends always say that I'm so lucky, which I know it's not luck. It's as you work through cleansing, like I said earlier, there's more space for things to come in your life. So I knew that there were some blockages around abundance, but wasn't sure where it came from. And I felt like I needed to dive deeper in terms of my ancestors and also my past lives and what was there that was maybe blocking me. So I did the past life regression that you had, meditation on abundance. And I remember it was a linear, you were sending on this journey, it was linear, and we're basically being dropped into a past life. So the first one I had, it's very interesting because it's so, still to this day, I can still remember very clearly the sensation, the emotions as well that I experienced. And I was a little boy, probably around 8-9 years old. And I remember being in the streets. I can remember the clothes that I wear, which I was basically homeless. And I was begging for money. And I remember a couple walking in front of me, and the woman watching me and look at me with such disdain because I was dirty. So I just remember the sensation of being a homeless person and feeling less than, and also having this look from the people passing by me. And it was, I was trying to remember the time just by the clothing, and it was late 1800s. So that was my first experience in terms of basically experiencing poverty. And then I had another one, something with your tools, which was the opposite in a way, where I was a queen at that time. And I remember very clearly being surrounded with very ostentatious items, and I was so rich materially, but inside of me, I was so poor. I was very not giving. I remember walking in the street and people, same thing, looking at me with disdain, but not because I was poor, because I had so much money and I was not generous with that money. So it was very interesting with two experiences, because they showed me that it doesn't matter how much money you have, how much material stuff you have, if inside of you, you are not giving and generous and don't have that richness of your soul and your giving, you are poor, basically. So it was very interesting to have the two. And again, I can still remember so clearly in my head, the images, the emotions, and all of that, so.
This is so magnificent. Thank you for sharing that. I love the level of detail that you experienced. Mm-hmm. And I would love to comment, if you allow me to.
Yes, definitely.
Well, first of all, I just want the bigger picture. I just want to paint the picture for our audience, for our listeners, that this is how regression works. When you have the intention of understanding an aspect of our lives, of healing something, it's always an aspect that is on deck right now, right? Something that is significant right now, something that is important in the moment of the search and the discovery. And past life regression is based on the idea of reincarnation, that the soul doesn't just have one chance at life, but instead we go through different experiences, and those experiences vary from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum. And when you think about it, it's really this balance of experiences that gives us different points of view, right? How would you know the sweetness of something if you don't know the saltiness of something else, right? Like, how would you, that contrast? So it's not possible for a soul to only have happy lifetimes, right? The challenging lifetimes are equally enriching and bringing sweetness, right? Because once you go through a storm, the next day you wake up and you say, thank you, God, I made it through. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, now let's rest a little.
Yes.
Right? Now let's actually have some peace and support. And so those experiences are really very enriching, because they show you the big tapestry, the big mystery of who we are, the beauty of all of it, right? All the challenges, but also the beauty of all the richness. And so then it's really up to you to decide, okay, now I understand, now that I know, now who am I today? How do I choose to define? What is the journey and the path forward, right? What am I willing to accept and walk with? And how do I choose to define myself? And I really see these lifetimes as our partners. They truly are, because they get influenced by our learning, because there's some other lifetime right now probably connecting with you, who you are today, in a dream space, right? And learning from you and being like, wow, I feel so enriched by her experience, right? So they're partners who are in a way helping us, guiding us back home to that softness within, to that beauty within, right? As we were speaking about beauty. And so I love these experiences, and I love the contrast of them, because then you end up in a place of saying, the worthiness of who I am is the beauty of who I am. And it's, and right, is that magnificence within that cannot be measured, but can always be replaced and shared and replenished, and right. And so that's what I mean by replaced, given so freely and grown from deep within. And this question of finances, this question of money, is so tied in with purpose, so tied in. I'm so glad you brought that into the conversation, because that was a personal exploration for me many years ago. As an attorney, I was working in a large law firm, which corresponded with a very large salary, right? And then I was looking into a world where I was self-employed and there was no guaranteed paycheck, nobody else, creating the business, and I just show up and do the work. So the learning for me personally back then was very much to trust the creativity of my soul. Because you see, what we do is, when we don't trust ourselves, when we don't trust the essence of who we are, when we don't trust the creative impulse that is here to give and to contribute, when we don't trust the safety of that framework, right? We use money as a weapon, as a protection to really guarantee our safety. But what was guaranteeing that I was going to stay at that job, right? It wasn't the employer. It was my own inner decision. It was my own inner, I can trust myself, that was still guaranteeing that I received the salary, right? So that trust of myself is something that I had to really, really focus on, and trust that creativity within me will support me, trust that the universe will show up and support me. And also to trust that there's purpose and meaning to everything God has put in my hands, even though at that moment it didn't seem very valuable, right? Because it didn't seem like there was a marketplace for it, right? It didn't seem like people were knocking on my door and saying, hey, Mira, can we do this, right? And let me pay you. I was willing to trust that which I couldn't put my finger on was going to pay for food, right? And so that's a question that everybody who is looking to live a life of purpose has to decide, am I going to take that leap of faith, right? It's a question that exists for all of us, because nothing is guaranteed. That's why people stay stuck in places where they're chained, they talk about the golden cage, where they're chained to a retirement plan that is guaranteed through being a government employee, right? A situation, a framework where if I just keep showing up, the money will supposedly keep showing up.
Yeah.
And so if you're truly looking to live a life of purpose, I'm not saying that it has to be being self-employed. That's not the case. Many people are living their life of purpose by being moms and by working in government and by being part of big corporations. But being willing to trust the value of your creativity is what will assure that life will support you, but also you will support life, right? And so that is really something that only each and every one of us individually can choose and decide. And the way I did it for myself, I just kept choosing to say, I trust myself, I trust my life, I trust that what I have to offer is valuable enough. Otherwise, why would the divine put it in my heart? It wouldn't, right? There's nothing wasteful in this universe. Why would a gift in my heart, a desire to be of service in a certain way, be given to me otherwise? And so that's really my hope and my prayer for our friends who are listening with us today, to say to themselves, if this is my instinct, I can follow it, and that instinct will take me good places.
Exactly. So it's having faith and being in alignment to be in the flow, right? Which is something I've definitely experienced in my life. Is the more I trust, the more I'm in alignment, and as things come my way and opportunities come my way as well, I just say yes, and it just takes me to beautiful places. And I've noticed that from a money perspective, I've been less worried the more I, follow the nudges, follow where my soul is taking me, and following my soul purpose, the more I am less worried about money, if that makes sense.
This is so beautiful.
Because I know it will just, it all works itself out. But for some people, they want something that'll be more tangible and more assurance. But this is what I tell my clients as well, always, is as you work through your challenges, as you are really stepping into your purpose, things just flow. Synchronicities come and you get into an alignment. It's cool. It's beautiful. So
I love it.
And in terms of, if we touch keeping on the subject of money, because I know, especially right now in the times that we are, it's definitely, a big subject for people, especially with inflation, everything rising up and what's not, and layoffs. If you look at money and repetitive patterns, so for example, if someone is in that repetitive pattern of being in debt, no matter what they do, you have some people, for example, it doesn't matter if they make 20,000 today, and tomorrow they make 100,000, but they may go to 500,000. For some reason, they're still in that debt pattern. How can one, I would like to hear your perspective on that, but also how can past life regression help with breaking that pattern? And so you could also say with relationships, as I'm thinking about it, maybe being in relationships that are always the same, and getting out of that pattern.
Yeah. So I believe the first step needs to be understanding the pattern, right? So not only saying, oh, this is how it is presently, this pattern of it comes and it goes, right? As soon as it comes, it leaves. To also use past life regression to understand the bigger picture of this pattern, to understand how it relates to other lifetimes, to understand how to break it, because it's always right there in the experience. It's always available. The answer is always right there. And then once we come out of the regression, I always say to people, I've had the benefit of working with so many people, and after every regression, I always say the same thing to them: please do not let this be just an interesting experience that you get to entertain your friends and be like, oh my God, let me tell you what I went through, what I experienced. Instead, let it be really the starting point, the line in the sand, that moment of a new beginning. and saying to yourself, I understand, I'm ready, I understand how to do it differently. And from there on, just really move into that new direction very intentionally. And past life regression makes that very easy to move into that direction intentionally, right? It's this beautiful watershed cleansing moment where emotions are resolved, things are seen in profound new ways. And then it's like, okay, now I get it. And from there on, as we pack and travel places to go on a vacation, you know, we pack different things we take with us. Same with the spiritual growth. The journey has a lot of tools that we get to bring with us. So from there on, there's many tools to bring along the journey, and use with what we learned during the past life regression experience, whether it's EFT tapping, whether it's meditation, whatever other tools, to keep going forward in the direction of that growth, to keep reaffirming our worthiness, to keep reaffirming our deservability, to keep reaffirming how natural it is for us to be taken care of and supported, not because we're special, not because what we contribute, but simply because we exist. And since we exist, it has to work out.
Exactly. And I love that you touch on, you know, the other tools as well that someone can use, because I found on my journey, and I've used many tools, and as I advance on my journey, you peel layers. I always tell my clients, you know, you have this onion, and we have so many layers from society and belief systems and what's not. And as we unpeel the layers, you know, it's past life regression, and then okay, this layer, it might be EFT tapping, which helped me with this layer. And then, I may come back to past life regression because at this stage, this is what I need, this is where I am. And I think there's so many, all the tools that we have nowadays, which we're so blessed, are a way to really get a lot cleared.
Yeah, yes, really magnificent.
Exactly. And so outside because I know you have a 21-day soul purpose journey as well. Can you talk a little bit more into it in terms of the tools that you are using in your program as well?
I would love to. So the 21-day purpose program is a way for me to bring people on a journey of discovering their purpose, because there's many pieces to it, right? There's not only identifying the acre of land we're going to plow on, if we were to speak figuratively, right? And then seed and build on. It's not just about identifying the area of our purpose, but from there on, it's also about cleaning up things, right? Cleaning up the old shrubs, all the beliefs we've heard from society and from our family of, oh, it's not possible to make money being an artist, right? Or being a musician, forget about it. Or you have to work hard. You have to trade your freedom and sanity and health and happiness with dollars for money, right? That kind of attitude for your survival. So all those things are stories that we get to clear and forgive and let go of, but also along the way build the new, build the vision, because it's not only about just the vision of what our soul wants, but also how does that fit on a day-to-day basis? Who am I? What does that look like? And so that's why I expanded into a 21-day journey, so that we can use all the tools and really work through all the buts. But I get it, but and also really step into a life of meaning and fulfillment, because here's the thing: the greatest fulfillment for each and every one of us will come through our work. The work is always the cure. And when I say the work, I mean purpose. That feeling of I'm on purpose, and me doing my purpose driven work is always the cure to a bad day, the cure to I'm lost and depressed, right? Even when I don't feel like it, I show up and then I have wonderful conversations with people. I'm like, oh, life is amazing, always good. But also the place for my greatest creativity, right? The place where I feel fulfilled the most, but also the place where I meet the greatest challenges. And it's the case for all of us, because when you're on that path of being the truest you could possibly be, there's always another revelation, always another challenge, another dragon to slay, another adventure to have, another way of knowing ourselves as more and more and more. So undoubtedly purpose is where you will also meet your greatest challenges, but then the overcoming of them will make it even more sweet and more fulfilling and more rewarding. Right?
Totally. Okay. Love it.
Yes.
And I'm thinking also for the audience who's completely new to past life regression, and some people may have never heard about it, what would be the first step to get started on that? Would it be, because I know, for example, you're offering one-on-one session, I believe, or you have some programs like I've done that you are having also, and also some workshops. What would be the best way for someone completely new to start on that path?
Yeah, whatever feels most interesting for the person. I've written a book on the subject, like you pointed out at first, Beyond Past Lives. I have programs people can dive into. I have recordings of regressions that people can use. People can also reach out to me for a one-on-one session with me. So I just invite everybody to go to my website, mirakelley.com, Kelley, and check out whatever speaks to them, whatever feels most, oh, I want to pursue that, and benefit from whatever I offer, because past life regression is a very unique and very mystical way of connecting with the big soul picture, right? It's very deeply rewarding in a way nothing else can provide that depth. So I'm really excited for people to give it a try.
Exactly. And as you mentioned earlier, it's not a work that is just, oh, here is this great experience that I just had. It really is a tool that you use throughout your life. I know, for example, with my story that I explained earlier, nowadays, even the queen self comes back. It comes back in so many different aspects in my life, where I remember, okay, you need to step into your queen self, but remember generosity. When I walk in the streets of London, I see people in the street, and I feel again the feeling that I felt in that past life regression journey. And, it just helps you understand at a different level things that you may not have understood before. And it's definitely tools that you use for life, basically.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And so I'm really excited for people to dive in, to give it a try, because every experience is completely unique, right? Every time you do a past life regression, it's a different focus, a different question, a different point of view, always incredibly enriching.
Exactly. And that's the beauty too, is there's so many layers you can keep working on, whether it's finances, whether it's a relationship, whether it's purpose. You can work at so many different layers and keep diving deeper and deeper into different lifetimes, because some of us have had thousands of lifetimes, so there's definitely so much to dig into, definitely. Perfect. Is there anything else, Mira, that you would like to add for the audience?
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for the sweetness of this conversation, because, every time I get to talk about past life regression, I fall in love with it all over again, right? It's kind of like the lover that you love, and then they do something, you're like, oh, oh my God, I love you. And so it's really a blessing for me. Thank you for creating this space for us to talk about it. And if I may, I would love to just simply express a dream for everyone who is listening, if I may offer a dream. And it's my dream that each and every one of us feels so tapped into the flow of life, that sweetness of how held we are, how supported we are, that each and every one of us is willing to trust a little more and lean into the warmth and the comfort and the soothed feeling of being held a little more, so that we can trust those impulses within, those feelings within, that grace within that always rises and always wants to express in the most beautiful ways and contribute and create all around us. So that each and every one of us is both the gardener and the garden and the flower. My partner has this beautiful saying that he's the gardener and I'm the flower, and everything he does is so that his flower, meaning me, his partner, can grow. And this is the sweetest analogy, because we're both the flower in the hands of the garden of life, but also we're the gardener who is flowering everybody else's flower and taking care of everybody else's garden and allowing everybody else's flowers to grow, if that analogy made sense, right? We're the force and the love that contributes to others, for their dreams to grow. And so it is really my wish that we allow that sweetness to flow through us in all these ways, so that we can experience and know it personally, because what we give out always comes back, right? So as we allow it to flow out of us, we receive it coming back to us with such deliciousness and trust and surrender and expansion that brings us to our knees to simply cry and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for this life. Thank you for this gift. Thank you for allowing me to contribute in all of these ways.
Oh, it's so beautiful, so beautiful.
Right?
I just felt held into this cocoon of love.
I love it.
So
I love
you
it. You felt my
absolutely
intention.
beautiful. Totally, totally. It's just, yes, such a beautiful moment. So thank you so much, Mira, for this beautiful conversation. And I'm very excited that, many of our audience will start on this journey with Past Life Regression and hopefully with your program. And again, as you mentioned, they can get on your website for more information about your work. So mirakelley.com.